It was in 1992. One day, I got to know that I had been registered for a yoga class and that I have to attend it. It was a request from some people who had attended a Hatha Yoga class that they had arranged in the town, conducted by some other organization. Since they offered me this with much affection, I sat for the first ever Isha Yoga class that happened in Tiruchengodu. I didn't know then that it would become a turning point in my life. Even after attending the class, I did not feel this first induction into Isha Yoga would take me so far. Swami Nirakara led the class and Sadhguru came for the initiation day. That was the first time I saw Sadhguru during the initiation. Participants cried, rolled and did all sort of things. It was all new to me, but didn't shock me or anything. I understood that they were touched by some grace. I knew that Sadhguru is not just a yoga teacher. I personally didn't experience anything extraordinary at that time, so I too felt a reverence towards Sadhguru. So within a year, I finished the Bhava Spandana program with Sadhguru and Samyama later. During the Samyama program, seeing the high energy states the participants got into, I came to understand what a huge being Sadhguru is. I too had some taste of what was being offered there. It so happened one day that I started to chew a candy during one of the breaks. I think it was a Vicks kind of candy that I took to help my sore throat before I could chew it fully. The break was over and we were rushed back into the hall while I still had the candy in my mouth. Sadhguru too came in and started the session. I didn't know what to do with the candy. I don't want to swallow it and I can't spit it out here either. I thought and decided to continue to chew it until it dissolved completely. Immediately, the candy started to taste so unbelievably bitter that I had to spit it out on the carpet the next moment. Those days, what happened in the Samyama hall could be witnessed even during the Hatha Yoga classes conducted by Sadhguru. I saw this during the Hatha Yoga class in Tiruchengodu. People were crying, rolling and screaming in ecstasy. While doing simple Surya Namaskar, even during the monthly satsang, it was struggle for the teachers to manage the class as people would get into various states before the Dhyanalinga consecration. Situations around Sadhguru were very intense. Since I was a little rational sort of person, I was against any kind of rituals. I believed Sadhguru was also against rituals and ideal worship like many siddhas I had read about. It was in 1993, during the Bhumi Puja of the ashram land, that I saw Sadhguru participating in a ritual. A priest had been called for the puja, and during the ritual, he gave an ash god to Sadhguru and asked him to make some ritualistic offering. First, the priest is here, and then Sadhguru also has an ash god in his hand. I was confused seeing all this. At that moment, Sadhguru turned towards me and smiled as if saying, "What all I have to do for others?" I too felt amused at the situation after seeing him smiling. It was only during the 1994 Wholeness program when we understood a little about his hidden agenda and who he is that I realized for good that it is futile to judge him for what he does on the outside. In the initial years, after I became a Brahmachari, I was staying in Singanallur office. Someone else took care of the cooking for us. Whenever there was nothing to eat, I would cook just rice and have it with buttermilk or chutney. One day, I became a bit enthusiastic and learned from someone how to make dosa flour and prepared it in a mixie. That night, Sadhguru came with Radhe to the office and asked us if there was anything to eat. Gladly, I served dosa and chutney to them. Another day too, when I made rasam for the first time using the recipe from a cookbook, Sadhguru came with Vijima and asked again if he had something to eat. Not only did he eat the rasam rice to my delight, he also appreciated it. After a year of staying in Singanallur, I shifted to the ashram and worked in the office reception. I also took charge of construction cash management, voucher preparation and approval, distributing money to suppliers and sevadars, keeping the money safe, all that. This later became the cash point of Isha. Nearly 10 years ago, a situation came where I had to take care of Tamil publications, and since then, have been a part of the Tamil publications department. Sometimes, after moving to the ashram, inspired by the nature around, I started to jog casually. I was not an athlete or into any kind of sports before. One time, Sadhguru saw me jogging and asked me to continue. At the time, I was well past 40, but after Sadhguru's encouragement, it became one of my regular daily rituals. Later, he gave me permission to participate in marathons also. It gave me a lot of joy to see that now many in ashrams are participating in these marathons. I suddenly declared Sadhguru, I want to take Brahmacharya and come with you, I said. Sadhguru asked me, you sure? You have a job, you have old parents. Well, you are not married but you have other things, isn't it? I said, Ella nadula vandadane Sadhguru. That means, all these things I picked up only on the way, isn't it? On the way somewhere I have to drop it. This is my time. I wish to say that I am fortunate that I was here during a Dhyanalinga consecration and lived in the same period with Sadhguru. I am sure Dhyanalinga is nothing but Sadhguru. The day before the Dhyanalinga stone was shifted and fit into Avudayar, Sadhguru conducted a process for it. During the process, I was really astonished to see that there was a light drizzle only around Dhyanalinga. Like they was pouring their blessings to Dhyanalinga. It was like a fairy tale scene. Only a few generations are fortunate to have a live guru of Sadhguru's caliber. Sadhguru is constantly thinking about how to uplift all, including the beggar on the street. When I see Sadhguru mingling with the poor rural people in such down-to-earth ways, I feel moved and humbled. Sadhguru is as vast as the greatest oceans, but because of his boundless compassion, he is living and working amongst us and works for our spiritual growth despite us. Only in books had I read about the Nayanmars and Alvars who did miracles like this, but here I have a person before my eyes who is like the highest of the beings I had read about. Though I felt I missed a few opportunities that he offered to me, it is enough for me that I am able to be one of his disciples. My enlightenment, that is his problem. Really, I don't even think of that. He knows what, when and how to give anything I am capable of, since he knows me better than I know myself.